conservation. About 30 to 40% of final electrical energy consumption will be used to produce hydrogen, while rest by electrolysis, and rest would be used to directly electrify and decarbonize specific sectors. So much so, in fact, because of paucity of time, I could not mention even the home cooking, domestic cooking. There will be no gas. By 2070, we will have to shift to completely electrical cooking. So completely, we will be switching over to electricity for transportation, for cooking, domestic cooking, and many of these things. All energy sources. In fact, nothing would be burned. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yes. Continuing with the conclusions, the infrastructure growth to support high development and decarbonization may require additional 4,000 terawatt hours of electricity per annum for materials such as steel, cement, etc. And we may require around 200 to 500 terawatt hours for digitalization of our economy. So final energy requirement of the order of 23,000 to 27,000 terawatt hours per annum, dividing it by India's population at that time. So here I want to bring into consideration that Srinivasan Saab told that we will be needing about 5,000 kilowatt hours per person per year electricity. This is now stands modified. We in fact will be needing 16,000 kilowatt hours per person per year. Extensive electrification would also demand greater amount of materials such as copper, aluminum, lithium, cobalt, vanadium, manganese, and silicon. So this also has to be kept in mind. I think in brief, in this short time, I could only tell this much. Next slide, which is the acknowledgement slide, which initially itself I told this complete presentation is based on a publication in Current Science, volume 122 in March this year itself. Next slide, which is basically the takeaway from this presentation. If we want our future generations to be safe and we want them to enjoy electricity and modern life, then replacing fossil fuels by renewables and nuclear is a must. Thank you very much for your kind time.
Thank you so much, sir, for a power-packed note. Rightly highlighted by Dr. Malhotra, Earth shall remain. The concern is of life existence, a better environment, and a good ecosystem. So let's pledge to be cautious of our actions, not only on the World Environment Day, but on all days, and achieve zero emission. It would be our great pleasure to present to you, sir, with a small memento as a token of appreciation.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It would be now a great pleasure to invite Professor Sudesh Sharma. Sharma ji is a senior scientific officer with DAE NPCIL for 30 years and visiting professor at Business School. Sharma ji is also currently TQM consultant and MDP facilitator and corporate communication consultant to technical sector. By qualification, Sharma ji is BE Mechanical, PG in Management and ISTD in Training and Development. His specializations include Quality Management, Environmental Management, Health and Safety, Training and Development, Corporate Communication, Nuclear Engineering. We welcome you, sir.
Yeah.
Randolph, thank you, sir. Randolph Bourne rightly stated, a good discussion increases the dimension of everyone who takes part. With this, the forum is now open for discussions. The esteemed members of the panel are Dr. Sundar Kataria, Dr. Indumati Manivan Nambi, Mr. Richard Bright, Sri BVS Shekhar, Sri G.R. Srinivasan, Dr. S.K. Malhotra, and Professor Sudesh Sharma, who I will request to moderate the session. We would also request Sharma ji to take us through the recap of today's session post the panel discussion. We would be taking the questions from the chat box. The panel is now open for discussions and question answers. Over to you, Sharma sir.
Okay, thank you, Arya. I think
Thank you, sir.
towards the fag end of the event today, I'm so glad that there was a very strong focus on carbon footprint today. All the August speakers, somehow, their talk converged on reducing carbon footprint. Whether it was by default or it was planned, I wonder. But then the message is very loud and clear, and I hope that the audience got the messages and the necessary insights, to take your mission forward, the mission of, saving Mother Earth from destruction. So it was, let me now, in case there is a question from the audience, I would love to take that first, but before the audience prepare themselves, I would like to throw the first question to Madam Indumati. Ma'am, I hope you are around. Indumati, ma'am. Yeah. Ma'am, please unmute yourself. I request all the August speakers and panelists to unmute themselves. Yeah, ma'am. Am I audible to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, ma'am, the question, you started very on an extremely strong note, and we got to know a very new phrase today, that's Earth Overshoot Day. For the benefit of all of us, can you throw some more light on this Overshoot Day?
Yes. So,
I would request you to be as simple, because assuming that there are a lot of non-technical audience also, and because there are various platforms, so the number of audience that you see on the Zoom platform could be just 1/3 of the total audience. So can you simply explain to us, the way a school teacher explains to a 8th standard student, what is Earth Overshoot Day?
Yes. So this is a calculation which is done based on consumption patterns of different countries. In terms of they have these statistics, and the resource can be replenished. There are resources which are replenished on, so that is also estimated, and then they calculate on how much demand, the demand versus supply calculation. So we are actually utilizing more from the reserve. There should always be a reserve stock of resources, and there should be something which is replenished. So if we are consuming more than what is being replenished, that is when we are overshooting. Okay, and that day is coming closer and closer. Ideally, situation in December, we should consume what is the allocated resources for us in that year. But since we are just like, look at water, we are mining water from we call it fossil water. If we go and mine the deeper aquifers, then we are removing the resource which are supposed to be kept on reserve. So Earth Overshoot Day was in 1970, it was December, which is ideal. And then we have been exhausting our resources more than what we should. And the recent calculation says that in July 29th last year, we overshot.
I hope you heard the other August speakers. You found time to hear them. What do you think? And these speakers have given wonderful insights, on their complete experience of handling the non-fossil brand of energy. Are you? What's your take on whether the recommended sources of energy like renewables and nuclear would actually defer this overshoot day, or maybe prevent this day from happening?
Yeah, definitely. So we are going to keep the fossil fuel reserves longer if or consume less. If we are going to add more to our bouquet of non-renewable resources through solar, hydrogen. So definitely we are going to push back this Earth Overshoot Day slowly and steadily back to December.
Okay, great, ma'am. Thank you so much. I would now come to Mr. Shekhar, because let me go in that order, in the order the speakers came and presented. Shekharji wonderfully presented, and I think your slide was very well appreciated by both Malhotra Sahab and Srinivasan Sahab. Especially like the slide on the greening of the interior, the greening of the plant boundary and the plant side or the plant premises. So those were wonderful. I think those slides have had a kind of lasting impact on the audience also. I mean, you made a statement saying that we have to reduce greenhouse emissions to net zero. Do you think it's a realistic possibility to net zero? Because I think that was a line in one of your slides.
Yes, I think it is more of an imperative. We have no choice now because we need to get to net zero. We small reduction targets. You can go to net zero in a manner that is sustainable, that is practicable and doable. That's a different argument altogether. But there is no way but going to net zero.
I would
And
invite
I
the
think,
views.
yes,
Okay,
it is
yeah, please.
possible, and we need to do it. If we can
need
do it
to
by
go.
2070, it's a great challenge. If not that, also, if not 20, maybe 2071 or 70.
Yeah, because all your other points are very practical, like your, option to decarbonize, and since we are majorly driven by fossil and the Panchvati promise of the Prime Minister, this one seemed a little too, I think, ambitious a target. I would request Srinivasan Sahab and Malhotra Sahab to kindly, give their views on net zero greenhouse gas emissions. Are we in a position to actually, okay, as a target, as an objective, it seems quite holy.
Am I to answer?
Yeah, please, sir, one of you can start.
Yeah.
You can start with
Okay.
you, sir.
Yeah, I feel that we should not have any fixed target like this. In fact, a target of phasing out coal was universally fixed, whereas the situation is very different at each stage of the development for each country. So we must keep moving rather than having a net zero target of an year, but rather we should have fixed plans for say 5 years. I have a feeling that any planning for more than 10 years, in fact, there is a joke on United Kingdom on planning and 10 years. Because of lack of time, I can't tell that joke. We must plan in 5 or 10 years and have a quantum decrease and move towards net zero rather than fixing, say, I feel even 2070 carbon phase out may be difficult because the industrial countries have done everything and damaged the whole environment. And now when we want to develop, we are having problems. So India is a leader and a model to follow in climate control. But at the same time, I think we must take care of our people.
Great, sir. Thank you. Malhotra, sir, as a vision statement, does it? Yeah.
See, this net zero actually it means fixing. I mean, I would slightly differ with Srinivasan sir. We do have to fix a target. A bar has to be fixed. That like a high jump athlete, we have to fix the bar somewhere that we have to clear this bar. So I think it is important to fix a target. And actually, net zero doesn't really mean that there will be no carbon emission. It is like this that the.
Yeah, I think we're losing your audio, sir. We lost your audio. Meanwhile, we can come to Indu ma'am as an academician and one who has worked in the environmental sector. What's your take on this?
Presentation, no carbon. It is written low carbon. Okay. So we have to move towards low carbon electricity generation or energy generation technologies. And then whatever carbon dioxide is getting emitted, then we have to develop the technologies for carbon capture and reusage. So that sector is coming up very importantly. And I think in next 3, 4, 5 decades, we will see that this sector, that is reusing carbon dioxide, putting carbon dioxide back into use. Naturally, we can't do in large volumes that we are emitting, but once we move towards low carbon emissions, that much carbon dioxide, if we are able to capture and we reduce, so it is, see, net zero, how will you achieve? That means the carbon you are capturing equals the carbon you are producing, you are emitting. That is the net zero situation.
Great, sir. Great. Thank you for throwing light on this. I think, ma'am, any quick take from you?
Yeah, I was going to say that. So it's not possible to achieve 100% zero carbon emission. We are going to have emissions, but net zero is offsetting these emissions through equivalent projects, equivalent sequestration, like what Dr. Malhotra just
Yeah,
said.
great. I mean, the wonderful insights, because I think we need to, I mean, all the viewpoints are very well taken, because one is that as a philosophical statement that I want to achieve 100% in my board exams. It's excellent. I mean, as an objective, as a target, one has to keep something, but then this is the way practically. And I think Richard ji Bright sir, can you please, I mean, a quick take from your side? Because since
Yes,
you have been harping on you have been actually a stock market, for or the BS or the Bombay Stock Exchange for carbon trading. This is what I gather from your presentation.
So, yes, while you can say that it's partially doing the incentivization of those efforts, but on the contrary, coming on the 1.5 degree program, there's a program run by 1.5 degree, and then there is a lot of implication if we go beyond that. So, for example, if we hit 1.5 degree, there's an increase. 70 to 90% of coral fossil will actually diminish. Similarly, the earth or the water level will probably rise beyond 50 centimeters. So imagine a lot of islands going under the sea. So that's why that's the target. What has been said, emissions will always be there. Everyone is trying to their best to either reduce or use renewable energy and make their systems efficient. Now coming to carbon registry, it's a model where if you look at global registries, you will find only a very big player or big corporates who can afford to pay a fees of $5,000 just for registering a project is registering their initiative. Whereas in India, if you look at the context, we cannot really afford that. And if you look at the end farmer, they would probably have 5-6 trees. There's no provision to appreciate their effort. So what we're trying to do is help farmers not only from monetizing or taking credits on their effort, we are also trying to help them have trees planted which has more carbon sequestration in them, and register a project collectively as a whole panchayat or a whole village, so that effort can be extended. Plus, on a volume scale, in India, of course, 1.5 billion, it's a whole big volume, and that's also one of our strengths. So imagine the small droplets of effort coming in from every place, helping us, meet the international commitment that for Paris Agreement, which is net zero. So the effort has to be collective.
Okay, got it, sir. Got it. I'm sorry, I will have to rush a little because otherwise once again the technology would automatically disconnect us from the Zoom call, and then we'll all be left high and dry for the evening. Kataria sir, sitting silently in USA. Kataria sir is one of the stalwarts of DAE. For those who have not known him, he is one of the first engineers to be posted, in Rajasthan, and now he runs a mega empire of international ICS Limited with offices in more than 15 countries. And recently he was lucky to have visited NUB for another purpose. And sir, what changes have you found in the direction of the Department of Atomic Energy in terms of its environmental? You have been observing, you have been auditing, I think, NPCIL for quite some time now. So how,
Yeah,
what is
yeah,
your take? And you also are an expert in the oil and gas sector. All the experts here are actually, recommending phasing out oil and gas, which indirectly means phasing out your bread and butter. So what's your what's your comment on that? Are you in
thank
favor of
you.
phasing out fossil?
No, thank you very much, Sharma Saab. It was really nice to listen such eminent speakers who have spoken very vast on horizontal as well as vertical on the subject. And I was also baffled where to put a balance. I would advise, I have seen nuclear power plant coming up in 1960s and 70s with very enthusiasm. But that enthusiasm died in 80 onward. And recently again, 2020, it was again pushed up to have the nuclear power. As I learned from Srinivasan Saab, the nuclear power also spends less fuel and produces more fuel. So carbon footprint is going to help a lot. And I have seen the earlier technology, which was the Candu type technology of Canadian. And we have been, and from there we have technology advanced a lot with respect to safety, with respect to radiation, and with respect to other environment means a program which they have taken, and consumption of water for cooling and all front. I think they have gone readily all the direction to save lot of environment. And my experience goes, we have to have balance. Like this, I have been witnessing in India the wind power coming up somewhere in early 80s. But then there was enthusiasm was there in the beginning, but then it died. I have not seen many plant which came up from Rajasthan, Gujarat, and South. It didn't pick up. Those non-conventionally has to pick up. Like the same thing, solar. Now, 1 decade we have been talking, but how much we have gone advanced. So what I feel that this new technology we have to adopt. Geotechnology, geoenergy is there. From the earth we can take. And then we have bioenergy, maybe small plants like agro. If we can put those bioenergy, we save manifold those environment problem. How to dispose of lot of which is coming from the agro. So I feel on 3-4 fold we had to take action. First thing, we had to have non-conventional energy in a big way so that we can reduce depending upon the fossil energy. And I feel that as the nuclear energy is more safe, consumption is low for this carbon footprint. So we should also go ahead with the large plants which are energy efficient plants.
Okay, sir,
And
but sir, I'll interrupt here because once again, I think I have a heavy responsibility of budgeting time also. So you are in favor of phasing out fossils?
yes, definitely we had to, because that will reduce quite a lot of your
Great.
this
I wanted to hear this from you basically because fossil has been your, career, your bread and butter and everything. And when you say that, it means something for everybody. Now, Indu ma'am, I think has supported what you said in her presentation. I think she she made it very clear that the technology, which is responsible for destroying the planet, might also one day become its savior. Like the example, ma'am, you gave of the river, how the riverfront looks much better and much cleaner now. And I think that's one area where we lack a lot. And secondly, uh, this concept of reuse, recycle, etc., which you had advocated. Now, coming back to I'll come back to Mr. Richard. There's a very important question for you. I think one of our colleagues, Mr. Nema, was trying to understand how does a company like, for example, like ICS or a company like NPC, because or an IIT to which, ma'am owes her allegiance. How do these organizations, apply for carbon credits? Like tomorrow, let's say Mr. Shekhar wants carbon credits for his organization. What does he do? And I think NPC, would definitely be one of the best, earners of carbon credits that way. If provided we start thinking in that direction, maybe even the IITs because of the green campuses. And so what do these organizations do to earn those credits and put it on in their annual reports?
Right. So with my limited knowledge, let me answer that. So there are two ways of doing, getting the carbon credits. One, if you want to really offset them, as in as an organization, I have an emission, I identify what have been my emissions, and I want to reduce or mitigate them. So that means if I am doing 100 metric ton of emission per annum, example, then I would start by reducing them. There could be several, either there could be a small initiative.
Yeah, sir, I'll interrupt you, sorry. Assuming we are doing all that, there are a lot of things going on everywhere. There are a lot of things going on in all campuses,
Yes.
even in the institutions. How do we apply for, I think projecting a good brand image of the organizations? How do we apply for it?
So for each initiative, we'll have to get a project developer in place, have talked to such organizations, and get whatever effort they are doing into a document to qualify for a project.
Can they get in touch with you, sir, to help them out in this?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would request ICS to kindly share your email of ma'am also in case. So Mr. Neema has raised his hand. I think Neema sir has a question for one of the panelists. Neema sir, you're welcome to ask your question, sir. Hello. Okay. I think his hand was raised. Anyway, I'll read out another question now on the chat box, and let's see which of the panelists would be willing to answer that. I think it's more. There are 3 comments and one question and 3 comments. So Anand Pal,
I can answer. How much time do we have? Do we have 3-4 minutes?
Sir, we have about 5 more minutes for the discussion. So there is a question.
On the chat box, there are some questions. I thought I will quickly go through it.
Yeah.
One is on SMR development, small modular reactors. There are more than 80 designs in the world which are coming up. In fact, the small modular reactors will be leading the renaissance. This is very important. But as far as India is concerned, there are 2 reasons for adopting SMRs. One is that small capacity which will fit into the grid. Other one is modular construction which can be fast. India doesn't need SMRs right now as far as domestic situation is concerned. But for export, yes, we need it. There is also a question on hydrogen for nuclear. There is a national hydrogen mission. I think Indian Oil or somebody, I forgot now. Swapnesh may remember. They are trying to have a big project through electrolysis. As of now, it is green hydrogen production through renewables. But elsewhere in the world, there is a lot of research being done for using nuclear power plants for hydrogen production. And I am sure this will be the future. There is also a question on thorium usage. If intellectual property right is not claimed by Swapnesh, I want to tell a small thing in about 2 minutes about thorium. Thorium is not a fissile material, it's a fertile material. It takes some time. Even DAE themselves have told it will be 2 decades. In fact, a palmist was approached by somebody and he showed his palm. He said, no, you will not achieve much. Then later he said, you see, for my son, he said, your son will achieve quite a bit, but not too much. But your grandson is going to achieve, you will get Bharat Ratna, everything, all sorts of things. And he said, okay, let me do. Then, yeah, are you married? He said, no, not yet married. So it will take time, and so thorium production is exactly like that. So this is the way I think he did a very good job in explaining politicians who were getting impatient with our. But there is a lot of work done on the thorium technology. We have the only thorium to uranium-233 reactor in the world in the form of Kamini in Madras. IG car, which is in Madras, is totally dedicated for thorium technology. They're doing a lot of work in parallel. And I have, in fact, writing a book in which I brought out all the work that is being done. So it takes time, and the priority is not only thorium reactor, it is also fast breeder reactor, it is also advanced heavy water reactor, and there is a big competition for the use of plutonium. So it will take time. There is another question: what are the issues in India on nuclear power development? I am very happy to announce, here, that there is a tremendous fillip being given. There are 10 reactors on fleet mode. You already know that the Russian reactors are almost on fleet mode. The plan is to have triple capacity from the present 6,000 and odd to some 21,000 by 2031. But issues, yes. Earlier, we were trying to have some collaboration with other things like Indian Oil, NALCO, and everything for joint funding, but that didn't work out. Privatization didn't work out. So one of the main issues will be funding. And of course, resource planning, manpower planning also will be there. Manufacturing capacity, we should be able to manufacture 3 reactors per year. Plus, of course, we are already taking part in manufacturing for the Bangladesh plant, VVER plant, Russian plant. So manufacturing capacity and supply chain could also be a problem. But I feel that the pace that is going to come will be much more than the pace which we have seen for the last 4 decades.
Great, sir. Great. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think, sir, it's 6 o'clock already,
okay.
and before somebody disconnects
Okay.
from the Zoom side, not from the ICS side. I would now, Malhotra sir, one question, sparked by your statement, which you made something, you said something like, we need to augment our energy consumption. Are you serious about it, sir? Already, India is one of the worst, I think, performers in terms of forest cover. I got a message which I shared with a lot of my friends. India has one of the least forest covers today in the world, 22%, while some countries had as high as 70%. And yet, when an authority like you says, it makes, I think, you must be having a solid reason for saying it. We must increase our electricity consumption.
Yeah. So Deshji, I think if you recollect, in one of the slides I had mentioned that we have this twin challenge. See, some other countries, I'm not talking of the countries who are less developed than India. I'm talking about the countries who are much more developed than India, who have already achieved 0.9 Human Development Index. So those countries, they have done it in 2 steps. First, they indiscriminately, they produced energy without bothering about carbon emissions. Okay, that is the result that today US, for example, US has about 15.5 tons emission of carbon per person. Okay, now India has 1.9. Okay, so now India has to reach that level of development. Either we retire to the early man's life and say no electricity is required. But if we want to develop our society, our nation, we want to move to bullet train, we want to have fast communication, we want to digitize India, all this will need energy. So that means India's twin challenge is that we have to increase our energy consumption, and at the same time, we have to do it in a way that carbon emission does not increase, deforestation doesn't occur. So that is why the renewable resources, hydrogen production, and nuclear power become important. And if you give me 30 seconds, I think that question of correlation between or connection between nuclear and hydrogen, I will quickly like to comment on that. So see, presently, See, we should not end up, see, nowadays it has become fashionable to buy electric vehicle, and we are talking of production of hydrogen also. So now it should not happen that electric vehicle we are charging with electricity which has been generated by burning fossil fuel. Then you are back to square one. Similarly, you are talking of producing hydrogen, but hydrogen should not be produced by electrolysis of water using electricity which has been generated by burning fossil fuel. So that is where the connection with nuclear comes, that you produce nuclear electricity or nuclear heat. In future, using nuclear heat, we will be directly able to dissociate water into hydrogen and oxygen. Presently, so as far as that technology is not developed, we will use nuclear electricity to electrolyze water.
Okay, sir. Got it. I think we one, I think a light question to Indu ma'am. Ma'am, all these august speakers, they have made some wonderful suggestions. Would you be, when you said catch them young, sensitize them in their young age, would you be willing to invite them to your campus, to talk about their initiatives and their mantras towards decarbonization? Like we say, catch them young. And the same question I posed to Kataria sir. Kataria sir, would you be willing to visit Madam's campus and arrange a kind of, sensitization seminar there in case she gives you the ropeway to do so? I think when we say,
Sure.
catch them young, sensitize them young, we have to be open to some wonderful ideas also. So, ma'am,
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
your take on this? If
Yeah,
speakers,
definitely. We are actually planning events around that. So in our annual technical event called Shastra, we do bring school students to be a part of the Shastra event and organize competitions for them to sensitize them in sustainability, environment area. It's like an open house. They can come and
great,
visit.
ma'am. I wanted to hear that from, because all these speakers, I know them very intimately, personally. They are very good friends, mentors, and guides. And I think we have been in touch with each other. Mr. Richard, I came in
One
touch
more
with
thing I
today.
wanted to add, we also organize, like I'm in charge of organizing a competition called Carbon Zero Challenge. So we have done 2 rounds of Carbon Zero Challenge. We have funded, this is for college students who are interested in sustainability initiatives. So we have funded about 50 teams so far to build prototypes and show that their technology reduces carbon, reduces water footprint. And we are going to launch another program soon.
Great, ma'am. And just to, put things straight, all these organizations that you are watching today, these, speakers, they have a kind of outreach program with campuses. So you're most welcome to get in touch with them. And okay, now I think it's time to recap. Kataria sir, with your permission, I recap, a quick recap of what has transpired during the day. We started with Dr. Indumati, and after a long time, we got to hear a professor in IIT because of the COVID scare. Moving out, it became a real big. It was a no. So, ma'am, I think the best statement that we liked from you was that we will die not by a lack of resources. Our end is likely to come by an overdose of resources. I mean, consumption of resources. And that was the biggest message you gave to us today, with all your examples of antimicrobial resistance of bacteria. Mr. Richard, I think there is a lot more to know from you. As I said, you are the, BSc chairman, the chairman of the, Carbon Stock Exchange. And I think many of us will soon get in touch with you. Shekharji, as usual, he is a storehouse of information. Storehouse, ask him anything under the sun on energy, and because most of the audience here wouldn't know, and that was missing in his introduction. He is accountable to handling parliamentarians. Now tell me one thing, who is tougher than a parliamentarian today? Tell me one thing. So he's used to that, and very well used to that. So thank you so much, Shekharji, for a wonderful and pictorial presentation showing a lot of biodiversity around the nuclear installations. And ma'am, if you happen to visit one of the nuclear installations, say Kalpakkam is the one nearest to you. Have you been there by any chance? Kalpakkam, the Madras Atomic? No, you must go there. You must go there. I mean, when what Mr. Shekhar said, he didn't, he just understated it actually. He understated it, honestly. Look at, the background that I'm showing you is the Kaiga plant, and nobody believes it's a nuclear power plant and it's producing more than 500 megawatt as of now, these two reactors. So this is the state of affairs, and I imagine a situation when India would, rely less and less on few fossils. I think we'll have this greenery once again back in the country. So thank you, Shekharji, for that enlightenment and your sustainable, I think the stewardship program is one of the best things that NPC has been doing, not only to enhance the environment in which they are, not only to compensate, but to enhance the environment. That's something which I think everybody should emulate. Srinivasan sir, you didn't mention about your book to the audience, when you gave your presentation. And I would say that this book is again an encyclopedia of the nuclear sector. I was fortunate to have seen the draft of the book, and it's something which is a must read for all the engineering students of this country. And I hope you won't mind sharing a copy with Indu ma'am, for the IIT campus once it is published. It's a wonderful book on the handbook on nuclear. And I think your statement was very scathing when you said why it is only in the last 10 years that we have thought of renewables. In fact, why only in the last few years that our cities are looking cleaner, there is a reason. Somebody thought about it, irrespective of which party, which person. Somebody thought about it. Somebody, brought it to, gave it priority. Otherwise, things were just, India was languishing. India is still languishing, but there are vision statements floating around, at least vision statements, like zero emission. It's a wonderful vision statement. And as all of you rightly concluded, there is no harm in having a vision statement of this kind. When a pharmaceutical company can have a vision statement, I want to eliminate diabetes from the face of the earth. It's a wonderful vision. Not that they'll eliminate it, but then, having this statement would make them work harder and harder and harder to achieve it. So that's the philosophy. So please, the question was posed to Mr. Shekhar with a reason, to generate a kind of discussion, not for the sake of a mathematical answer. So please, okay, now Dr. Malhotra Sahab, you have been the spine of the public awareness in the entire DAE, which has more than 30 institutions and organizations, and still you rock wherever you go. We get to know stories of how you made people rock. And thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful insight. Coming from all your exposure and experience in India and abroad. And so I think, this S0 to S3 was a wonderful insight from you. And we appreciate Srinivasan Saab's honesty when he said, nuclear energy was born with a bomb. It was born with a bomb, sir, yes. But then he also made it amply clear that yes, like any other statement, this statement that okay, nuclear and renewable is one of the options of going carbon free, are two options of going carbon free, and two. Ji, sir.
Sudesh, if you allow me 10 seconds. I agree with Srinivasan sir that nuclear was born with a bomb. So were most of the technologies were born with the bomb or were born as weapons. See, we talk of Stone Age people. What were the first purpose for which stone was used? Stone was first used for killing each other because uske pehle dvand yuddh hota tha. In dvand yuddh, for hours they will fight and then ultimately they will kill one of the two. Out of the two people, one will get killed. It will take hours. But then somebody discovered that pick up a stone and hit it on the head. Instantly the person will die. So stone had become weapon of mass destruction. So actually, and today stone is used for, I mean, I don't have to tell the civilization that what for it is used.
Sir,
But it is,
point well taken, sir, because a philosopher and writer made it very clear in one of his writings, which I happened to read long back, that the first spoken word was a gali, then came the refined language and everything else.
oh yes,
So,
yeah.
our ancestors must have used the first word used, must have been a gali to somebody who was
Yes.
stealing his girlfriend or something, must have been something like that, So, and Shekhar Ji is smiling, after a long time, I think he has had this kind of a very light discussion, with all the burden on his shoulders right now. So anyway, so this is the, I think, now I hand it over back to Kataria sir. Sorry that, due to paucity of time, we couldn't really get to, otherwise we wanted much more from you, but maybe sometime later. And we wanted much more, out of your international exposure to auditing environmental compliances in organizations. But I think now the organizers, Arya has put that recap thing and she wants us to close down after 3 seconds. Back to Arya now. Back to Arya. And thank you, panelists. Thank you all.
We'll have another 2 days.
Yeah.
2 days for the conference. So we'll be able to share more with the speakers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Arya, please.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to all our esteemed panel members who have addressed to the queries of our guests, delegates, and students. It would be our privilege to have you all eminent speakers guiding us and mentoring us always. Thank you so much, sir, for taking us through the entire session and also the fruitful and informative discussion. Now comes the most awaited part of the session, the quiz time. We would first present to you through the demo quiz, wherein you will get accustomed to how to go about it. Here, we see 4 questions displayed on the screen, each with 4 options of answers.
Have the panelists also to participate? Arya?
Everybody can participate, sir.
Okay, or they can be comfortable now, the panelists?
Yes, definitely.
You want them to sit around or they can be comfortable the way they want?
If they can be comfortable, sir.
Okay.
Here we see 4 questions displayed on the screen, each with 4 options of answers. We need to answer all 4 questions together in the chat box. The format of answering is displayed below on the screen. As you can see, the first 2 formats are wrong and the format 3, 4, 5 are correct. Please answer the question as displayed in the format 3, 4, and 5. The first 3 correct answers will be awarded 500 each. So here we go. The time shall start the moment the questions are displayed and the first correct answer shall be awarded. Can we have the questions, please? I shall read out the questions. Question 1, validity of pollution under control PUC certificate. Option A, 1 month. Option B, 3 months. Option C, 6 months. Option D, 12 months. Question 2, 5th June is observed as option A, World Forest Day. Option B, World Wildlife Day. Option C, World Pollution Day. Option D, World Environment Day. Question 3, green dustbin is used for option A, dry waste. Option B, wet waste. Option C, hazardous waste. Option D, biometric waste. Question 4, most polluted city in India 2021-22. Option A, Bhiwadi, Rajasthan. Option B, Ghaziabad, Uttar Pradesh. Option C, Delhi. Option D, Jaunpur, Uttar Pradesh. So the audience, the timer is on. Please put your answers in the chat box in the correct format, all 4 answered together. The result shall be displayed once the stop appears in the chat box by the administrator. I guess the timer is stopped now. The correct answer will be displayed on the screen, and we would request the one who has answered correctly to kindly help us with your name and number to help you send across the award. The winner of the quiz will be announced in tomorrow's session. So the correct answers goes like question 1 is option C. Question 2, option D. Question 3, option B. Question 4, option A. We will now go ahead with the best poem. The best poem sees 3 winners with an award of 500 rupees each. The winners of the poetry competition are: first prize goes to Miss Anchal Chabria, second prize goes to Miss Rajashri Patil, third prize goes to Miss Saksham Kataria. Congratulations to all the winners. John F. Kennedy rightly quoted, "We must find time to stop and thank the people who make difference in our life." I would now like to call upon Sri Dilip Negi, General Manager Planning and Strategy, ICS, for vote of thanks. Dilip ji's qualification include BA Economics and Diploma in Computer Application and Management. Dilip ji's areas of expertise are in textile industry for over a decade and 23 years of experience in accounts and finance, administration, HR, strategy and planning. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Arya ji. Yeah, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Few days back, United Nations World Meteorology Organization published a report titled State of Global Climate in 2021. As per report, greenhouse gas concentrations, sea level rise, ocean heat, and ocean acidification all set new records in 2021. Greenhouse gas concentration of carbon dioxide reached 413.2 part per million globally, or you can say 149% of the pre-industrial level. Sea level is rising on average of 4.5 millimeter per year throughout from 2013 to 2021, mostly due to accelerated loss of iceberg. Third, the past 7 years were the top 7 hottest year on record. First of all, let us admit sincerely that we all are responsible for it. Friends, Paryavartan is our small initiative to sensitize everyone on this planet towards his surrounding, his environment, and accepting the fact that there is only one Earth to live. On behalf of ICS and JKF Foundation, I thank you all for joining Paryavartan Day 1, sparing your valuable time out of your busy schedule. We sincerely thank our chief guest, Professor Dr. Indumati Nambi, for your enlightening inaugural speech, thought of Earth Overshoot Day, a water footprint, especially the thought which you gave that my shirt consumes 8,200 liters of water. It is an eye-opener. Mindfulness is the key of sustainable world, linear to circular. Yes, ma'am, well taken. We sincerely thank you for accepting our request at the last moment. We look forward your patronage to our philanthropic initiative, Paryavartan. We thank our keynote speaker, Mr. Richard Bright, for enlightening us on carbon registry. Like blockchain technology, carbon credit management is going to be the game changer in coming days. We also thank 3 nuclear experts, Mr. Shekhar, Mr. Srinivasan, and Dr. Malhotra, Nuclear sector is a very specialized sector, and common man like me hardly knows about it. Frankly speaking, I don't know the source of power supply I'm using right now, whether it is coming from the conventional or non-conventional source. But I'm sure if nuclear warheads are used in ongoing Ukraine-Russia war, it is going to be big catastrophe. Mr. Sekar, thanks for covering all aspects, environmental issues, and highlighting the need of our to decarbonization of energy sector to achieve net zero. You rightly said it's time to reach out. Mr. Srinivasan, let's hope nuclear becomes solution to 20th century problems by 22nd century, which we are fixing in the 21st century. Sustainable development key goals is the key takeaway. On behalf of ICS, let me assure you, sir, it is your forum. You are always most welcome. Dr. Malhotra, thanks for sharing strategies and technology options available with India for adapting high infrastructure growth model with zero emission by 2070. Thank you, Professor Sharma, for moderating panel discussion and always being around us to help us. A big thank to Arya ji for anchoring today's session with the full of energy and beautiful quotes. We also thank our environment lovers, our delegates. We appreciate your active participation during the session through chat box. Your support gives us energy to organize such events. Hope you have enjoyed today's session and will continue tomorrow and day after tomorrow. Last but most important, big thank to all our young children for your participation in today's poem competition, and hope you will be there in large number for the poster and slogan competition in coming days. Thank you once again to everyone for making this event successful. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words of acknowledgement and appreciation. Here we have the agenda for day 2 displayed in front of your screen. Day 2 would start with Paris Agreement, Perspective and Relevance for Industry by Mr. Vinay Deodar, Plastic Talk by Mr. Anup Nautiyal, Coastal Oil Spill Management by Mr. Shashi Vardhan Pandey, Environmental Impact Assessment by Dr. Sakshi Jain, Water Resource Optimization by Mr. Vijay Page. And let me remind you all, tomorrow is a poster competition. So please explore your creative front and upload it in your login. Marshall McLuhan once quoted, "There are no passengers on the spaceship Earth. We are all the crew." This surely reminds us of our social and ecological commitment towards Mother Earth. With this, we have now reached the end of day 1. We are hopeful and sure that this session has been informative, enlightening, knowledgeable, and given us all valuable insights. A big thank you to all present here this evening and giving us your valuable time. We will be right here tomorrow at 3 p.m. sharp with a new day and new insight. Goodbye for today. Stay safe. Good night.
Listen to the trees, listen to the spirits of the earth begging us, please stop listening to greed. Listen to the rivers, listen to the sea, listen to the spirits of the deep begging us, please stop listening to greed. She sent the drought to warn us. She sent the storms to scold us. But we don't listen. We burn and we break and we take always go? Where will man go when he has lost the heart beat beneath his feet? Oh, this is our home. She gives us home, Mother Earth. Can you feel her heart beat beneath your feet? Heart beat beneath your feet. Heart beat beneath your feet. Listen to the animals, listen to the trees, listen to the spirits of the earth begging us, please. Stop listening to greed. Listen to the rivers, listen to the sea, listen to the spirits of the deep begging us, please. Stop listening to greed. Listen to the animals, listen to the trees, listen to the spirits of the earth begging us, please. Stop listening to greed. Listen to the rivers, listen to the sea, listen to the spirits of the deep begging us, please. Stop listening to greed.